I'm going to start your video off. There is a video that was made of Jessica, and it is powerful. I'm going to warn you. Jessica, would you mind telling people about this video? Who made it, and why, and how, and...
There was a dear friend who was working as a intern where I work, and she had approached me about wanting to understand a little bit more, which I love. I mean, please, I'm very open to discussing it.
You are, but I would consider you more of you're a private person.
I'm private, but when it comes to this, there's not enough that are willing to speak about it. So it's not a taboo topic, but it's one that doesn't get talked about mainstream unless they want to argue about bathrooms or sports. Well, she had approached me about this, and we got to know each other, and I was just so impressed with her. I mean, she was like 21 in her master's program at IPFW.
Purdue Fort Wayne, changed its name.
Yes, it's now Purdue. And she had asked me if I had any issue with being part of a video that they wanted to do for at-risk groups. And I was absolutely not. I don't have a bit of a problem with that. So they had conducted interviews with me, and they were going to insert little snippets of the things I say and, you know, try to make it as impactful as possible. Well, every time they tried to put it in, it would squelch, and it just didn't feed right, you know, because they did it from like a phone, you know.
Oh, really? Okay.
The initial interview. What they did instead is they put this video together of an at-risk group. It had to be a PSA style, and it had to explain what the problem is, and then how, you know, the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Got it.
And I was literally so impressed when she showed it to me for the first time that I actually started crying, because it was very, to me, it was very, very, very powerful. You really got to see it to understand what I'm talking about.
All right, I tell you what.
I take no credit for it.
Me either, by the way. I want the credit to go where credit is due. I did not have anything to do with this video.
Oh my God, those...
They have given me permission to show it, is that right? Okay.
Those students that put this together, when they were done, gave me full permission to do anything I wanted with it. It's been posted nationally. It's been posted, it's on YouTube right now.
Yes, it is.
I have posted it at my employer, and so I love it. I am so proud of it, even though I really had nothing to do with it.
I understand. So at this time, we'll show it.
Left it scenes while I was sleeping.
No matter how many times I watched that video, Jessica, they just did a fantastic job.
Oh, they got a perfect score on it. Their teacher was so impressed with it. She told them that this sets the bar for everyone else that ever does
Wow.
this in the
And it does. It does. All right, so let's get into, I have some flags here for you as my guest here. I have the transgender flag. We already discussed that already. Okay.
Yes.
And I have the American flag here for Jessica. As you've seen, she served in the military.
Mhm.
You served in the, go ahead and tell us.
Indian Army National Guard for 2.5 years before I went active duty to the U.S. Air Force.
Okay.
And I served for 5 years in the Air Force.
You told me earlier you didn't. Why'd you get out of the Army? Like, why switch? I didn't know you could even switch. I honestly didn't know you could switch and stuff like that.
I tried it. I didn't like it. I was in the infantry unit, so it was.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, all ground
that
pounding.
can't be.
It was a straight leg infantry unit, and this was. I joined in 1982,
Okay.
so it was. They didn't have all the Hummers and stuff. We still had old Jeeps and deuce and a halves and.
Oh, like that would change your story if they had cool stuff back then?
Maybe.
Oh, stop it.
But then I went in the Air Force, and a friend talked me into going in to the police career field. So I ended up not really doing police work so much as doing security work.
Okay.
And I ended up getting, I was a security police, and I worked at Minot Air Force Base.
All right.
And
So your military experience took you into your current day career. Is that accurate?
pretty much.
Okay.
I got out January 29th, 1990. And the following, which was a Friday, and the following Monday, I interviewed. A week later, I started my job.
Wow.
Could not do that these days.
They don't, no. And you're still at that same job. They don't do that either.
And I've been at that job since 1990.
Wow. Okay, in the video, it says that you knew you were different. I believe it was 4 years old, or was it 5 years old? I'm sorry.
3 or 4, yeah.
3? As early as 3?
Yeah.
Like, okay, like I remember dribbling a basketball when I was 3, but that's about it. Like, wow.
It is literally my earliest memory. Is that?
What, can you give me, can you explain that memory? Like, what do you remember?
I remember sitting in the middle of my mom and dad's bed, playing with something, and honestly, it was like I realized that a cosmic wrong had happened and that I was not who I was supposed to be, and that I was supposed to have been born a girl, and I knew I was a girl, and in my mind I knew I was a girl, and I thought if I just prayed hard enough that they would figure out the mistake.
Was there any outside references of it? Like, were you playing with girl toys?
No,
Were
I
you
grew up in a
wearing dresses?
very,
What kind of little boy were you?
a little. I have a lot of brothers and sisters, but growing up, there was mainly the 7 of us.
Wow, big family.
Well, counting my steps, counting all my family, I have 15 siblings now.
Woo. Okay.
But back then there was 7 of us living under one roof, and it was strictly a boy did boy things and the girls did girl things, and really the two don't meet.
Okay.
There was no expressing feminine, you know.
But in your mind,
In my mind, I knew, but I also
did you
knew,
want to go play with, say, the Barbie or whatever it was that your sisters were playing with?
Oh, absolutely,
You did.
absolutely. I thought it was unfair that I couldn't do the same things that they did. You know, it wasn't about clothing. It was about who I knew I was, and I started asking my mom questions,
Oh, okay.
and odd questions for a little kid, and I got shut down, and I don't think it was because my mom was I think she just didn't know how to answer me.
I can imagine.
But
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm being shut down. So I'm immediately understanding that this is not a topic that I should be bringing up. It's not a safe topic to discuss.
At that very young age, you
Because
realize
you're afraid
that's-
you're going to lose their love, that you're going to be rejected by them because you're different. But it didn't stop me. I prayed every day. Every night I prayed.
Was your family religious too? Did religion ever play a part in this?
Religion's played a big part of my life.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I was probably 7 or 8. And again, this isn't something I woke up thinking about, spent all day thinking about, went to bed thinking about, thinking that, I'm going to have some surgery and they're going to figure out that it's a cosmic mistake had been made,
Wow.
And of course it never happened.
And you kept having to hide it.
And I finally went through a serious summer of depression when I was
As a child still?
as a kid, and I think I was about 8.
8 years old.
And I had decided that I was going to kill myself.
8
But
years
I
old.
did not want it to be I was going to step in front of a semi, because these semis used to fly down the road, this crossroad that was right at the corner from us. And I thought all I had to do was take 2 steps and I would be right in front of it, and it would be over. But I couldn't do that to my mom and my dad.
Okay.
And, well, my siblings. So I muddled through it, dealt with the depression. I must have read 5,000 books as a kid.
Like about
Everything.
what books? I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
I mainly
what did you
read
find comfort in at that time, is what I'm saying?
biographies.
All right.
And I love biographies of women.
Okay.
You know, or books like Little Women, Little House on the Prairie,
Yeah.
you know. And when I was about, it was around that, I'm getting ahead of myself. It was around that time that I heard an advertisement for a movie that was coming on Sunday night about a man who gets a sex change.
Oh no. Okay, this can't be good.
And I
Movies are the worst to trans
Oh
people.
no! Oh no! This one was, and I've never seen it. I wanted to watch it,
Okay.
and of course, my mom and dad made us go to bed because it was on late and a school night, and you know, it was like the Sunday night movie. And but I wanted to hear it. I got my ear at the door, and I'm trying everything I can. Of course, I couldn't hear it or see it. But I started asking my mom questions about it, sex change.
Wow.
Well, how did they do that? And, well, plastic surgery. And in my mind, as a kid, I'm thinking, how did they make plastic and make that out of plastic?
Right. Yeah, you're thinking of mannequin probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm like,
yeah.
And of course, again, my mother didn't quite understand the process herself. But so she.
Or how much it meant to you.
Oh yeah. Oh no. No, God. My brother caught me one time and never spoke about it for over 30 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. But, because I would dress periodically when my depression got so bad. I would.
That was definitely a question I had written down for you is, and I think this is something for the audience to understand. Why not just dress in women's clothes? Why do you have to go full on surgery? And why don't clothes do it?
That would be great if I was a cross-dresser. And I have nothing against cross-dressers. I mean, a cross-dresser is usually, and I say usually, a heterosexual guy who enjoys the kink or I shouldn't say kink,
Well, I get what you're saying with that, though.
The persona of being feminine and still be maintaining his masculinity.
Yeah, they're not wrestling with the fact that they were born a male. They're not wrestling with their body
want to
as
be
much.
women.
I'm sorry, what?
They don't want to be women.
That's what I'm getting
just
at.
Like
yes.
looking like women. So I get it. It's
you want to be a
more,
woman. You do not feel right in the body that you were given.
Oh hell no.
And I'm so fascinated by you, Jessica.
So after this movie, I'm asking my mother these questions. Well, when I was about 12, and I'm reading everything I can. I'm reading, about Renee Richards, and who was a tennis player who got outed because she was playing in a national tournament. And, this is a woman who had transitioned, had fully changed over, and was just living her life, and somebody thought that everyone else had a right to know that she was trans, so they outed her. Okay?
Wow. That was a long time ago,
yes,
too,
it was.
so that
it was
had
in
to
the
be...
70s.
Holy cow. Did you see any... okay, so you talked about a movie that inspired you. That's not...
Yeah, that it was possible. I knew
Okay,
that
so
it was
you
possible.
learned it was possible, and you learned of an athlete that had been outed.
Yes.
So there's two references that you heard that, wait a minute.
Well, there's a GI that, came back as Christine Jorgensen.
Okay.
And she went over George, came back Christine.
Wow.
So I knew it was possible, and I found pictures of these people in books, because obviously we didn't have the internet,
Right.
or YouTube.
Right.
And I would sneak into the library and go through the card catalog and see if I could find any reference to these people. And, you know, I found books by Jan Morris on Conundrum, which is her story of her transition.
Okay.
Matter of fact, she just recently passed last year. So these were kind of the heroes I grew up with, were people who pretty much said, screw what other people think, I'm going to live my life.
Wow.
So it took me till I was 12 or 13 before I finally dropped the bomb on my mother, told her everything.
Whoa.
Her immediate response to my 12-year-old eyes was fear and disgust. And looking back, it was not that. It was love and concern and compassion and confusion, you know, and...
What, do you mind, do you remember the actual words you said? How did you phrase it to her?
I handed her a magazine that had a story in it.
Oh, okay.
And I said, that's me, Mom. That's who I am.
Wow.
So she talked about it a couple times, and then I kind of shut her down because I'm seeing what really was not there, and I'm afraid of being rejected, you know, afraid of, you know, she asked me if I wanted help. I wish 10,000 times I had taken her up on it, but I didn't. And I immediately backpedaled, and I told her that it comes and goes, and I can deal with it, and it's not a big problem. So I proceeded to spend the next few years.
Your teenage years, you're very
Wrestling,
important years. You're going through puberty at that time.
Playing football, doing swim team, doing gymnastics. I joined the National Guard at 17.
Wow.
Went to boot camp between my sophomore and junior or senior year, between my junior senior year.
Let's talk about the military. In the video, it describes that you went to the military to prove your manhood, if you will.
I always thought if I was manly enough that maybe one day, at no time did I ever want this part of me to disappear, because that would literally kill who I was. But if I could deal with being a man,
okay.
it would make my life easier.
So it's like,
because
it's
I
not
was
that you regret
too
going to the
much of a
military.
coward to come forward and say, this is what I got to do for me. I forced myself to join the military, which forced me to conform. You know, I had to have my hair cut short. You know, as soon as I got in, I grew a mustache because you can't look feminine with a mustache, you know, or with a big cheesy mustache. Well, as much as they allowed.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought, you know, this will man me up. And it didn't. It didn't work. It didn't. I served honorably. I have 2 honorable discharges.
Absolutely.
You know,
There's no doubt.
I served with
Would you like to talk about any of these particular medals?
This is my police badge, my function badge, my rank, or at least the last one. I had a line for staff, but I didn't wait around to get it. And then my good conduct and my achievements, and the ribbons that pretty much mean the same thing.
So you were quite a soldier. I mean...
Well, I thought, if I'm going to serve, I'm going to serve honorably. Okay. And I feel that I did. And when I got out, I was ready to get started.
Started on what? Sorry,
transitioning.
You knew, like, so, okay, so you're in the military, you're almost done. serving your time in the military, and you're like, man, as soon as I get out of
As soon
here,
as I'm out of here, I am going to start. I'm going to find me a counselor. I'm going to start this process, and by golly, by the time I'm 30, I'm going to have everything done.
okay, but hold on, this is
I
technically
was-
you left the military in 1990, right?
1990. I was
So-
24 years old.
And did the insurance, like, did the military pay for this? That's where I was going with that.
Well,
Like,
no, nobody paid for it.
What?
Everything was out of pocket back then, related to anything trans. Matter of fact, there were
No, I'm talking about.
mandatory
Did you
exclusions.
at least? Okay, I get what you're saying there. It was related to trans. Hell no, they were
Yeah.
not going to pay for that.
They didn't want to pay for nothing.
You just was willing to die for our country, and they won't even pay for your medical.
No. Well, they didn't. Still won't pay for the big surgeries.
Really?
No, not yet. Oh, yeah, they put out feelers on maybe in the future they would cover it, but right now they won't.
Are we? I'm sorry, I haven't followed the news lately. Is trans people still allowed to serve in the military?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes, they
I'm not
are.
hearing that.
They weren't. Then they were. Then they weren't. And now
That's
they
what
can't
I'm
again.
getting at. It did the same thing with gay marriage too. It's like
Yeah.
they gave it to us and took it away, and
I mean, I know a lot of trans women. It is an incredibly high number of trans people. It's like 20%. The number's in the video, and I don't remember exactly what it is. That compared to our cisgender counterparts, more trans people serve in the military than in the same number of cis people.
why do you think that is?
Same reason I served.
I thought you'd say honestly that they're trying to prove their manhood.
Oh, I was, and I did everything. And I got out and I thought, I'm going to find me a counselor, I'm going to get started. And
Because you
she's
do have to go to a counselor for like a
Oh,
year,
abs-
isn't
oh,
that
it's-
right? I guess the rules. It's not even a.
horribly draconian. It's based on the Harry Benjamin standards that go back forever. Now, the new WOPAS standards are a little more lenient than the Harry Benjamin standards were back then.
Will you explain some of that?
Harry
for the
Benjamin was one of the first doctors who really went out of his way to establish some standards
Okay.
for treating transsexuals back then.
Yeah, they did call them transsexuals.
Yes.
Yeah. From a cognitive standpoint, though, we're not talking physically yet.
Both.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This surgery's been around since the 40s, 50s.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It's and it hasn't really been refined very much. I mean, there's a few pioneers that are doing newer types of surgeries, but it's still pretty much the same thing.
Wow.
Like Dr. Ting out in New York, he's got one that is, sorry to be graphic, but is self-lubricating. You know, most of them are not.
I
So you
didn't know
need
that.
extras.
Let's talk about surgeries.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I was watching, but I was watching something that surgery's a taboo subject, if you will, for a lot of trans people. Like, what I'm saying is, it's just rude to be like, "Have you had bottom surgery?" That's rude to just. How do you deal?
Sleeping with me? If you're sleeping with me, then you have a right to know. If you're not sleeping
Fair
with
question.
me,
Fair answer. Wow. Okay. All right. But there are those assholes out there that are just.
but there are people who think that they have a right to know.
That's
And
what I'm
the
getting
right
at.
to
That's what I'm
be
getting at.
offended
That's what I'm getting
if
at.
you haven't.
And there's a lot of people that will do the top and won't do the bottom. It's their personal choice. Is that correct?
It is strictly a choice. Now, I have friends that fall on both sides. You know, I'm a believer that I am me 24/7,
Mm-hmm.
and that my first 2 years in transition, I never used a ladies' room.
Really?
A matter of fact, I went to visit my sister in Cleveland, and I waited till I got to her house to pee because I was so early on that I didn't want to be assaulted.
Wow.
And there was an app at the time that gave you safe bathrooms, a list of safe bathrooms, but I didn't have it. So,
We're talking like 2015-ish here. That's not that long ago.
yeah, well,
It really that.
I got threw out of a gas station in Arkansas. Told to get out. We don't want your kind around here.
Wow.
Yeah, that was. Thank God I hadn't pumped any gas, so they didn't get nothing from it.
You know, one of my stereotypes of transgender people that I cannot stand it when people tell me this. It's always referring to a transgender woman, and they're like, "Well, I don't want them assaulting my little girl in the bathroom." They go right to you're a predator, like you dress up like this every day,
Yeah.
just to go assault a little child.
You know, funny you should say that, because you know how all that got started, right?
No, I do not.
Okay. Texas, Dallas, some of the areas in that county were trying to pass a local civil rights ordinance. That's all it was like a county ordinance. It wasn't even statewide.
Leave it to Texas.
And
Sorry.
they used the argument about trans people using the bathroom. But it wasn't about us. They didn't have an issue with us. And even their paperwork, what do they call it? Their white paper, not their white paper. What is it? Their game plan
Okay.
was that they were going to bring up, well, a heterosexual guy might dress up and go in and do something wrong. And they used it so effectively that it got that civil rights ordinance, which had, pardon my, shit to do with civil rights. It had, they zeroed in on one thing.
Fear mongering. It's fear mongering.
Yes, was the bathroom.
Yeah.
And
like it happens all the time.
They were
or something.
able to kill that entire ordinance by putting out that one issue. Well, nationally, they're looking at this saying, oh my God, that works so well.
Oh, man.
We can shut down all kinds of stuff. All we got to do is blame them damn trannies. So now you got kids in sports, which you got a governor in South Dakota who passed one, even though they don't have any, playing sports in South Dakota. There was one state where the person who dealt with the collegiate applications, they had two of them, two different ones, one for trans, and you had to meet certain criteria. And in most colleges, you had to be on hormones for a year and living in that gender.
Fair enough.
Before you could play. They had two applications in like a 5-year period.
Okay.
So they didn't understand why this was such a big hot topic. Well, you got Governor Abbott, the wonderful governor that he is for Texas, is telling his state
the people are assaulting people in bathrooms.
No. Now he's saying that parents that are supporting their trans children are committing child abuse, and they need to be investigated.
That's another taboo item.
And his attorney general has seconded what he said, and said yes, that the Child Protective Services should be investigating them. And there's actually a lady who works for Child Protective Services that has a trans, I believe it's a trans daughter, who has been put on administrative leave, and she's being investigated by her own employer for child abuse because she supports her child.
Oh, jeez.
Now, this is a very hot topic for me
Oh.
because I think back to if I had truly had the guts as a kid to tell my folks to come out, to live my life, and somebody says my parents are being abusive by allowing me to do it, or that somehow I'm wrong for doing it, or that I'm not mentally healthy because I'm doing it. You know, it wasn't up until the last DSM, Diagnostic Systems, whatever it is, DSM, that came out. It was, used to be transsexualism, and then it became gender identity disorder.
Okay.
So it was still considered a disorder. Well, now it's gender dysphoria.
Dysphoria. Yeah.
So,
in other words, it's not
a disorder.
you're not crazy anymore.
I have never been unemployed. I mean, in 37 years, I've never been unemployed, except for the 1 week I got out of the service.
Wow.
1 week. I work in an occupation that is fairly detail-oriented, and you have to be able to think and deal with people, and I think I do a decent job.
You're also dealing with people that are,
in all different mindsets.
Yeah, it's a dangerous job is what I'm trying to say. You could very well be in danger.
That could be.
What is something from, we'll come back to surgeries, I promise, but
Okay.
what is something from the military that you still keep today, that you still kind of, because clearly it carries into your job quite a bit. I'll give you an example. Like, my dad still makes his bed to this day. The military taught him that.
Oh,
And
the
that's
four
just
corners.
Do you make your bed?
Hospital corners, no. No.
You don't make it. I
No.
thought for sure you'd be a bed maker.
I fold my underwear.
Okay.
Yes, they must be up, over, tucked, and sit on top of each other.
What about socks? Do you match them?
Same thing.
Oh!
Make the little boat out of
So
it.
your laundry. You're very particular
Yes.
about your laundry.
Yeah.
All right. See, I knew there would be something that...
Yeah, that's one thing. I hate putting on wrinkled panties. So, and my socks have to match up, so, yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. You had talked to me a little bit about the price of surgery.
Oh, yeah.
And, compare it from back then. And I'm talking when you got out of the military. Like, I'm talking back then to compare to now. Help us out here. Help us understand what surgery's like.
When I initially priced it back then, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. I'm so sorry.
A doctor? Is that
Yes.
Okay.
He was doing it for around $22,000.
And this is in like the early 90s.
This is early 90s.
That is a lot of money.
It was a lot of money, and insurance would not pay any part of it. So it was always considered a cosmetic surgery. So insurance refused to pay any of the transition related, any hospital stay, anything dealing with the surgery. Now, once you had the surgery, then they would supply you with hormones.
Okay.
Because now you're no longer capable of producing hormones. That's if you've had like bottom surgery.
Could you yourself, can you answer why getting just top surgery alone was not good enough for you?
Because it wasn't who I was. I mean, it is, and this is going to sound crude and harsh, but to me, it was always a malformation of my body, a deformity.
Wow.
It's not supposed to be there. It was not. I was supposed to grow up, be a wife, a mother. Have a bunch of kids.
And your outside genitalia was a
And
representation of
everything.
what you were not.
And then as I got older, I watched my body betray me and become more masculine. And of course, you rail against it. You hate everything that happens to your body, from the first chin hairs you get, or the hair under your arms or your legs, and the deepening of your voice, which doesn't ever come down. I mean, you can train your voice to take a feminine pitch, but hormones will not help it increase. Now, trans women, when they take testosterone, their vocal cords will thicken up, and they will.
I mean, trans men, when they take.
What did I say?
You said trans women?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, trans men.
Yeah.
Theirs will thicken up and get deeper, and will never go back to a feminine range. So because that
I didn't know
stuff
that.
is permanent, but they don't never thin out.
Is there? You said something about training your voice. What about? Is there any surgeries or?
Oh yeah.
There is for vocal stuff.
Oh yeah.
Jeez, have you
Yeah,
had any
laser.
of that? Do you?
Oh no, God no. I mean that's.
What about training? Did you train yourself?
It is elective surgery.
Oh, yeah.
So it's something that insurance doesn't pay for.
Wow.
And you have to shell out of your pocket. They won't pay for breasts. They will pay for mastectomies for the trans guys, but they won't pay for implants for a trans woman.
What?
Because there's small-breasted women, there's large-breasted women. So whatever hormones gives you, pretty much you're good to go, is how most insurance policies think about it. You could be and trans is not for just the feminine appearing guys. I mean, I know trans
You weren't that.
women
You weren't that at all.
that are square-jawed, got big eye ridges, that just have that all-American male look to them.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, insurance won't pay for feminization surgeries, which there are. Things to open your eyes, shave down some of the eyebrow ridges, remove the Adam's apple.
Remove it?
Well, they shave it down. Oof. I was lucky I never had one.
All right.
So I never had to have anything done there. So.
Tell me how you felt the very first time you took, is it estrogen? Is that the proper?
Oh, yeah.
Is it, because I know T, they call it T for trans men, so is it literally estrogen?
Yes, estrogen.
E?
Whatever. Yeah.
Never heard it referred to that, but I'm just saying.
Depends on who you're talking to.
Okay, so tell me the feeling you had when you first took estrogen.
You mind me mentioning the doctor's name?
Yes, because this is a factual thing you can look up. You can tell his name or her name.
Her name. I was seeing Dr. Christy Wallace.
And who is that?
She is a doctor who worked for one of the large hospitals here in town, who shall remain nameless because I have nothing good to say about them.
Okay.
But she was spot on. I mean, this woman was phenomenal.
Wow.
She's supportive. She started me on hormones, wrote the prescription.
That is normal, by the way. You start with the hormones first before.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the therapy, the hormones, and
therapy, diagnosis, hormones.
And from there you decide if you want surgery and all that.
Yeah, surgery. Again, what I was saying about the Harry Benjamin standards versus the Woolpath standards, you have to live in that gender for a year before they will consider doing anything.
And we have that picture that you showed me. was the first time you ever? Was that the first time you went out? I'll post it up. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, this one right
Go
here.
ahead. That one's dear to you. I know you really love that picture.
It's the first time I ever went out. I mean, went out as me. I had my eyebrows done, I had my nails done, and I thought I was looking good.
You are looking good there. Where did you go, by the way, that evening?
You know, I was so sick that whole evening.
What?
I was so nervous.
Did you have like a group of friends? Did you?
Not at that time.
You went out by yourself, looking
Yeah.
that amazing.
Yeah.
That was like your first.
I didn't have a whole lot. I had a couple of supportive friends, but for the vast majority when I came out, it was a very lonely existence.
Did you? Okay, let's talk about some friends. You got out of the military in the '90s, early '90s, and you knew you wanted to transition.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk to me about like who did you confide in at those times? You know, who did you find comfort in people-wise?
Well, I came out to my mother again.
Again, a second time then.
Yeah.
All right, how'd she take it that time?
Better, but again, I backpedaled. Told her, you know, it comes and goes. I can deal with it. And she's told me that she supported me and that, you know, whatever help I needed, she was there for me. So I went and I found me a counselor.
Was your dad supportive of you at this time? Was he in the picture?
My dad never knew.
Never knew.
He died at 72 and he never knew.
He lived a long life. 72. He never knew.
And when I told all my family, and not one of them said that we seen this coming, but almost every one of them said, but now a lot of things make sense.
Whoa.
And that's when my brother first told me about catching me when we were, you know, young.
Wow. Okay.
He said, you know, I caught you one time. And I'm like, I thought you did, but you never mentioned it, so I wasn't going to ask you about it.
Did any other siblings tell you that what their, I don't know, what made sense to them? You know what I'm saying? Did they give you an example like your brother did?
Just because I was the boy who cared too much or cried
The stuff
too
you were
easy,
reading probably was
the types of, you know, things.
the literature you were
yes.
reading.
Just what I found enjoyment
The boy
in.
who cried too much. Were you emotional, little
Oh
boy?
my God,
Is that
yes.
what they're?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Did you run with other boys? Were you you know,
all my
the typical?
friends were girlfriends.
That's interesting. You hung out with mostly girls.
I had 2 or 3 boys that I was friends with, but most of my friends were girls.
Is that still kind of the same today? What are your friends like today, I guess is what I'm asking.
Wow, that's a hard question. Ask it one more time.
What are your friend groups like today? Are they mostly female, mostly in the queer community?
I'm mostly in the queer community. That seems to be who I get the most support from. My children support me. I have 4.
We'll get to them, definitely.
And I probably have less than 5 friends.
Aww.
But I consider myself blessed.
Because they're quality friends,
Because
right?
the one would do anything for me. Him and his husband both. You know, they're the 2 of the dearest guys. And I got to know him when I was first transitioning. And I found no support whatsoever at work. It wasn't
Really?
because... some of them rejected it, but mostly people just didn't know what to say, so they avoided me. You know, because they had known me as that other person for 25 years.
Okay.
You know?
Right.
So we don't know who this crazy woman is that's wearing too much makeup and, you know, hair bands and earrings.
And you got to wear a uniform at your job too, so
Yes,
it's
I
not
do.
like you can. I mean, you're
So I
restricted with what.
I had to go a little over the top, maybe, because I wanted there to be no doubt.
Okay.
When you seen me for the first time, I wanted you to know, under no uncertain terms, who I am. I am not no guy. You know, I did my nails, I wore my makeup,
Do you
I
do those
did
yourself,
my hair.
by the way?
Oh, hell no. No, I'll plug them.
Pay for your nails.
I go to Tiffany Nails, and they do a bang-up job.
Nice.
Yeah.
But back then, I'm sure when you were first transitioning, I'm assuming like.
Oh, no.
You know what? Just let me,
I
talk to me
pampered
about how you learned to do
myself.
makeup and things. How did you learn to?
Makeup has been an ongoing thing forever, but actually, I don't think I even still know how to put it on properly.
What? You don't consider yourself good at makeup?
No. I see these girls that can do makeup and it looks phenomenal. They know where to put the right highlights, the lowlights.
You know I have
No.
guests that can certainly help you with that.
Oh, I know
We can hook you up.
I have watched more of Candy Warhol's
She's gonna be on my
videos
show.
to do makeup.
Oh yeah, she's teaching makeup.
Yes,
and,
she
yeah,
does. She
yeah,
does
she's
a
doing a great
phenomenal job.
Yeah, a lot of the drag queens will post their
You
they'll
don't
go
mind
live.
me mentioning her name, do you?
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Candy Warhol's videos. Find them on Facebook. They are awesome.
Keep it up, Candy.
I learned a lot from Candy's videos. Obviously, I don't do the big eyelashes, and
Well, yeah,
I
yeah.
can't.
You can't.
Well,
Why?
I get not at work.
You can't wear eyelashes at work.
Well, not like she wears.
Fair enough. Why? Okay, that leads me to another question. Why? I think I already know the
And
answer
she
to this.
does subtle enough makeup. I could wear what she does to
Yeah,
work.
you could.
You know, she does a little of everything,
Why-
which I love.
Why have you never considered doing drag, or have you?
My friend wanted me to do it when I first started, and it's like, no,
I think I know the answer. Because you're just kind of like I've been through enough. Can you just leave me alone? Like when I first met you, you're just a calm person. You don't want to be the center of attention. Is the impression I got of you.
I don't care, but I did not want to be thought of when I first started. I did not even want to give people the inkling that, and I'm sorry if this sounds offensive, and I don't mean it to be, but this is just how I felt, was I didn't want people to see me and think I was a man in makeup.
Okay, it's not a show. In other words, for you, this isn't a show.
This
is
is
you.
my life. This is how I wake up. Well, maybe not. I mean, this is who I am. This is how I go to. This is
This
what
is your
the way I went
life.
to work today.
And people that do drag understand that. They
Yeah.
know it is a show, and they totally understand that.
And I watched one of your other
Della.
interviews. Yes,
Yes.
Miss Della's.
Yeah.
And I was so touched by all the things that she talked about, and her history and her support for the trans community. And
Absolutely.
I was so in awe. I've seen her perform,
Mhm.
and she's a great performer. But now I know she's a great person too.
Oh, that's very sweet.
So I was blown away by her video and her honesty and her candor.
Yes, that is. As I've been doing this show since October of 2021, it's always been about that. I want to show the world people like you, people like Della and Tula, and my friend Ryan Staples. I went to school, grew up with Ryan Staples. These are the people that I know that they're amazing people.
Watch Della's video. It's worth it. And I'll watch the others too.
I want to tell the world what you've gone through and how you've gotten here, and the queer community just has so much to give to this world, and that's really what I want to do.
I'm this close to retirement. And
At your job?
Yes. And I so much want to go into some kind of advocacy when I
Do
get
it.
done.
Do you have any ideas what you'd want to do?
No. I mean, I have grand ideas, but grand ideas take grand money, and I don't have grand money.
True. If you're watching this video and you have ideas for Jessica, comment below. You'd be surprised how many people could use someone like you to help them out.
But I was telling you about after I got out of the service, I found this wonderful counselor, I thought, that was really going to help me. Christian counselor.
Mm-hmm.
It screwed me up worse than anything because he wanted to fix me. He didn't want to help me. He wanted to help me by fixing me.
Let's talk about
And I didn't want
religion
to be
and
fixed.
the good, the bad, tell me, what's religion been like for you over the years?
Hell on earth.
Wow. As a child, okay, were you ever a believer? Did your family raise you
Oh, absolutely.
religious?
I wasn't kidding when I said I prayed every day.
Okay.
And if I missed a prayer, I had to say the whole prayer over just to make sure that God understood that this is something that I really, really, truly needed to happen.
Did your belief or faith, did you wrestle with that?
I
You
have
know-
wrestled with my faith all my life. Maybe not in divinity, because I believe that there's a God out there or a higher intelligence. Because I can't believe that DNA and everything just spontaneously happened.
Okay.
You know, something put us here. Whether it was God with a big G or a little g, there was some intelligence that put us here. But I spent so many years talking to God and not getting answers.
Wow.
And people said, well, you know, God doesn't. You know, I love that God works in mysterious ways.
Oh, I've heard that one.
He doesn't always, you know, give you the answer that you want. You know, he gives you the answer you need.
Well, I've been told I'm going to hell in basically every religion.
Yeah.
Just being gay, I'm a lesbian. So.
Oh, we could talk for hours about that one.
About
Do you
what?
know that the word homosexual never came into the Bible until the 1940s?
When we did the translations.
Yes, the German translation.
Oh, they always used to use the Old Testament. A man should not lie with a man. There is anything about transgender people in the Bible. Whoa, that's a.
Well, there's one passage.
Is there? What is
yes.
it? Do you know?
And I'm paraphrasing, so
Okay.
please don't send me messages saying that you said it wrong. But it is, a man shall not wear clothes of women, and women shall not wear clothes of men, for it's an abomination unto God.
Wow.
Now,
Well, it also says you shouldn't wear mixed fabrics either.
now,
Come on.
if you get divorced, your wife's to be put to death. If you're an adulterer, you're to be put to death. If you don't keep the Sabbath, you're supposed to be put to death.
I have tattoos.
If
should
you're,
be put to death.
you're barred from the tabernacle because you got tattoos or you're
Yeah,
marred.
I eat shellfish too,
I'm
by the way.
I have piercings, so I'm
Oh.
marred. But there was no penalty other than it's an abomination. Okay? So, and the only reason that homosexual got left in the Bible is because after they did the translation from German to English, they used a word that meant, its definition really is predator, pedophile.
Oh, gee.
Okay?
Uh-oh.
And it got mistranslation to homosexual. Well, one of the students that was under the professor, who was the lead professor doing this translation, agreed. Because it was a young student, he was gay, and it really bothered him that, you know, his religion is telling him that he's going to burn in hell because, and so he challenged the professor, and the professor agreed that yes, that is a mistranslation. It will be corrected in the next go round. Well, the problem was they took that one and put out the next edition without any corrections.
Wow.
So for the last 80 years, it's been homosexual when prior to that it was never in there. It was some word about this long.
Did you call yourself a Christian at any point in your life?
Oh yeah, I still call
do you
myself
still?
a
You still
Christian.
do? Okay.
I believe in. Okay, this is going to be a little sanctimonious, or maybe not sanctimonious. Maybe just. I believe in the idea of religion,
Okay.
that you should do good deeds, that
Sure.
you should not, you know, do unto others.
Yeah, Jesus had some great teachings.
You
by the
know.
way, I you know.
And yeah, I will follow every teaching that Christ ever had about homosexuality, and I can quote every word that he ever spoke about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he spoke nothing about it.
Oh. Same with the. Well,
If it was such a hot topic, you would have thought Christ would have mentioned it.
that's for debate, though. People, or like I said, they always want to bring up the verse in Leviticus.
Leviticus is Old Testament, and that is the punishments. That is the penalties for failing to keep the Sabbath, eating that shellfish, touching a pig, you
Right.
know,
I guess what I'm getting at
making
is
yourself
like, what do
clean
you
to go back into the tabernacle.
what do you tell people that tell you you're going to hell based on the Bible? What do you tell people that? What
I
do you
will
say?
stand before my Maker.
Okay.
And I will take my judgment.
Very nice. I mean, yeah.
And you have to stand before yours
Mhm.
and explain to him why you're being a bigoted asshole.
All right. Good. I like that. Let's talk a little bit about the difference between.
Can I say asshole?
Yes. You
Okay.
can't cuss in the first minute of a YouTube video,
I
but
seen
we're
that. That's
well
why I
past.
mentioned it. I seen
Um,
you tell Della that.
Yes. Let's talk about the difference between sexuality and being transgender. Gender and sexuality are two very
Yes.
different things. Can you
Two
address
totally
that?
different. My sexuality is who I sleep with. My gender is who I am. So I am female through and through, even if I was born the wrong way.
Okay.
My sexuality is who attracts me,
Or who you're attracted to?
or who I'm attracted to, yes.
Because there's a lot of people that attract me, but I don't have a chance in hell with them.
And I've been married twice. After my Christian counselor screwed me up, I met my first wife and truly fell in love. I mean, it wasn't, people have accused me of using her to hide, and I didn't.
So you were genuinely in love with
I
her?
was genuinely in love. Or, well, she thinks we were too young and it was more an infatuation.
That is possible, but it had nothing to do with you
No,
being transgender.
no. And I would have been happy to spend the rest of my life with her.
Wow. That's great.
Part
Right.
of me would have regretted not being who I am, but part of me loved her
Being a family
being
person.
a daughter, having a daughter.
You have children as well.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And so we got divorced. Again, I tried to find a counselor, and I went to one that,
Do you mind if I ask, was the divorce because of this, or was it other?
well, yes and no.
Yes and no? Okay.
Because I again.
Did you
went-
tell her? I guess that's what I'm
went
asking. Did you
through
tell her?
Horrible depression, and she was so worried about me that I was going to do something stupid. She made me tell her, and I did. I told her how I felt,
Oh, wow.
and that I can deal with it. I love you. I love Rachel.
That's your daughter.
That's my daughter. Sorry, no names.
No, it's okay, it's okay.
And we stayed married a couple more years, but I think that was probably, because now she has that fear that I'm going to do this any day.
Oh.
Because it was, I think I took away her safety, because she didn't know if her husband's going to come out in bra and panties or,
Okay.
So
Did you ever bring her around that stuff at all? Did you try anything?
No. She painted my toenails once. I kept them that way for a month.
Aww.
No. I strictly avoided, literally, other than her and my mother, nobody ever knew until I came out.
Wow.
And it killed me to keep it inside because I wanted to be able to share it. I wanted to be able to tell my dad. I wanted to be able to tell my siblings, but I was also afraid of their reactions. This is how gutless I was. I hit my 49th year on this planet. I had just gone through a horrible divorce to my second wife. It had been over 3 years that I held it together as, what's his face? The dead name.
Hold on, that's called a dead name.
Dead name, yeah.
Your previous name is a dead name.
Yeah, it's dead to me.
Legally, it's dead too.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you've changed your name.
Now I'm
How did you pick Jessica, by the way?
My counselor asked me what my favorite feminine names was, and I gave her. I told her my 3 favorites, and then she said, "Well, have you ever given yourself a name? What name do you go by when you're dressed?" Is what she said.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I've never given myself a name. And she kind of looked at me like she was a little perplexed, and it's like...
Because I'm really surprised you hadn't either. Yeah.
I knew if I ever gave myself a name that I would never go back.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
I mean, to give something a name is to give it life. And if I ever took a name that I knew was going to be the name that I wanted, that would be it. That was my name. That would be who I would be.
Wow.
So I purposely shied away from it. And she asked me about variations of my name. And I'm like, I thought about it for about a half a second, and then I didn't like it. And then I thought...
let's be honest, you could have gone by Roberta.
That was the one that I thought about for half a second. Didn't like. Nixed it. Okay. Then I thought about Bobby.
Which could be, yeah. Okay.
Which I can think of myself with an I-E. My family can think of me with a Y. And no, I'm not going to be happy with that.
Why? Because
I did not want androgyny.
It's kind of almost a happy medium, if you will.
I did not want androgyny.
Great answer. That makes perfect sense.
If you hear my name, I want you to immediately think of...
Right on. Yep. No, but you're a female.
It's like, oh, this is Jessica? I don't care. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Did you change your middle name, too?
Yes, I did.
Do you mind telling us what your middle name is now?
Jessica Ann.
I like it. Good job.
It was Robert Anthony.
Okay.
So I kept the middle initial the same.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I didn't realize that my sister, or I knew it, but I took the same middle name that my sister has. So.
Oh, everybody's middle name's Ann.
So
don't feel bad.
She's like, "Did you name yourself after me?" And I'm like, "No, sis, I didn't.
You just like that.
I stole your name. Yes, that's what I did."
So, Jessica, back to sexuality. Did you ever question your sexuality? Did you ever try men at all, or think about it, or anything?
Not once.
Never been sexually attracted to men?
When?
Anytime. You answer that question. I don't know.
Growing up, I knew that I was a lifelong lesbian. You know, that used to be my joke when I was a guy, when I pretended that I wasn't.
Trust me, I've had men tell me they're lesbians, and I hate that joke, actually, but I get what you're saying.
And I would say, well, you know, I'm a lifelong lesbian. And I would always get that weird look like, huh? But in my mind, I had only been with women.
Okay.
And it wasn't till 2 years of my transition that I was talking to one of my dear friends.
One of your 5 friends?
Yeah. And we're standing there talking, and she goes, Jessica. And I'm like, what? And she goes, you were talking, you stopped midstream, and you watched that man's ass as he walked down the sidewalk. And I'm like, I did. Yes, I did, didn't I?
Wow, okay.
And I have noticed that, and I don't know how it happened, because it wasn't.
You are taking hormones and stuff at this time? Are
Oh,
you
yeah.
Jessica at this time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question. I've heard some trans people tell me that they were one sexuality prior to trans, and they have literally, since taking hormones, become a different sexuality.
I would have to label myself that way.
Really?
Although I'm still open to the idea of women. I'm intrigued by men.
How about bisexual? Is it okay to call you that?
I'm actually, I don't know if that's enough.
Explain.
I would have nothing against being with a trans woman or a trans man or a woman.
Fair. That would be more of a pansexual?
I guess.
My
problem is I'm also, I guess the kids call it demisexual.
You're attracted to the mind. Is that what demi is?
Demi
Correct me
is
if I'm wrong.
somebody who needs to be have an emotional connection.
I consider myself that.
That I can't just have one night stands.
Oh, I have plenty of those.
I mean, I can't. I have to be like emotionally committed to the relationship.
So it's not what's between their legs for you.
No.
It is truly what's up here for you. It's a connection.
Yeah. And I had a chance. There was a beautiful guy that wanted to take me home. Knew how old I was. Didn't bother him. And it's like, I can't do it.
Why couldn't you?
He was 32.
So what?
He's a baby. My kids could be that old.
Oh.
I mean, I didn't have my kids till late in life. So they're still fairly young, but if I had started when I should have, they would be that old or older. You know? So I couldn't do that.
Do you date nowadays?
I would love to date. I'm kind of like Della.
I describe Della as having a wall up.
I don't get asked out, so...
Do you try? Are you on any apps? I'll ask you the same question.
I'm on several Facebook apps.
Okay.
You know, LGBT dating, trans dating, and
that has to be really hard because you are.
It's horribly hard because
I think
most
I'm
of the
fishing in a
guys,
smaller pond. Your pond is like a puddle.
It's like this little red. You can't see it, but there's this carpet.
It's a Cincinnati Red Sea, okay? That's your pond. It fits in there.
That's my pond down there.
And you have to announce it like right away. It's not something that.
I get messages from guys from Afghanistan and Pakistan, and the Middle East, and the Ukraine, and how about Michigan? You know, how about Ohio? Illinois, Kentucky.
We're in Indiana, by the way.
I'm good.
Are you from Fort Wayne, Indiana? Like born and raised?
Oh, no.
Where are you from?
60 miles out here. I was born in Marion.
Marion, yeah, that's not far at all. Yeah.
Other than the time I was in the military, I've been a lifelong Hoosier, which is you call somebody from Indiana Hoosier.
I did a video where we made up our own word. Hoosier actually literally means someone from Indiana, by the way.
Yeah.
We made it up ourselves.
There is nothing else that it means. Yeah.
Why did you move to Fort Wayne then?
Job.
Oh, good reason. Good reason.
I've been there for 10
Although
years. and
technically,
decided it
your
was time
job
to move.
is all over the United States. You could do that job anywhere, right?
But I had already had 10 years invested.
Oh.
So, and it was right around the time that I think I got promoted.
Oh yeah, you might as well stay there. Yeah.
So it was like, okay, I'm pretty much locked in now. I may as well move. Because before I was driving 60 miles to come to work one way.
Jeez, oh yeah, that's a lot.
After 8 years, it's like, well, after 10 years, yeah, we moved. So,
Okay, I'm gonna talk to you about more. We're going back to the surgery again.
okay,
There's a lot of risk with the surgery.
there's
and
horrible risk.
Tons of risks.
Mm-hmm.
One of them being the ability to have an orgasm.
Yep.
Is that? Talk to me about that. Just what do you want to say about that?
The surgery itself is pretty straightforward. Where the finesse comes in is salvaging the nerve endings. Because I don't know how graphic you want me to get, but it takes all the nerve endings from what used to be your penis.
The tip of the penis, right?
And compacts it down to a little bitty clitoris.
Okay. All right.
And some trans women can't get past the idea, so they can't orgasm because they're not wired that way. I don't know. I happen to be one of them. That strictly by itself is not enough.
Okay.
After my surgery, which I had in 2018, I had severe complications in the hospital and out of the hospital. In the hospital, they had got me up. Second or third day I was in the hospital, they got me up to walk me, and I made it as far as the chair. They left me in the chair, and they kind of got disgusted with me because I was just sitting there. And when the nurses came back to put me in bed, I was literally sitting in a big puddle of blood because I started bleeding out.
Wow.
So they had to go back and take me back and do whatever repair that they had to do, which I'm still unclear of because I was pretty much on a PCA pump that I was hitting every...
Wow. You do have the top surgery first, is that right?
No, I never had top.
You have not had top surgery? Did you just not need it because the hormones help that much? Is that accurate way to describe it?
Yes and no.
Explain. I'm sorry.
Sometimes a little help's a good thing. So, and as your breasts do grow, they're slow, like every teenage girl, because we're going through a second forced puberty.
Wow.
So,
I never thought of it that way.
Oh, and it is. It's as horrible as your puberty was. Think of trying to go through puberty right now.
I just
Again.
never thought of it that way.
But it is a second puberty, and your butt widens out, your hips thin as much as male hips will allow, and your boobs grow. And they have all this, the Tanner stages, for breast growth. And if you're planning on implants, it's usually a good idea to get some, silicone falsies,
Okay.
the same size that you would want to go to get used to the idea.
Oh, sure.
The
Stuffing
weight,
yourself,
is
in
this-
other words, prior to. Yeah.
So a lot of trans women initially have to stop because as they grow. And then the older you get, the slower they are to grow.
Do you know how long it took you after you started taking hormones to where you actually had to wear a bra?
About a year.
A year? That's a long time. I thought it'd be sooner than that.
Well, my doctor, because I was over 40, was very cautious about the amount of hormones I was taking.
Okay.
It wasn't until I could pretty much prove that my body could handle it well and that I wouldn't have any complications. Because, let's face it, estrogen has some perceived issues with it, you know, health issues. A lot of women don't want to take estrogen because they're afraid of, you know, like breast cancer.
Oh, isn't bone density one of them?
Pulmonary embolisms and
Really?
bone density. A lot of this stuff is anecdotal. A lot of it is based on Premarin.
What's that?
Which is, well, it's a name brand, but it's a conjunctive equine estrogens. It's made for pregnant horse pee.
Well, okay.
Well,
we're going to take a break on that. All right, we are back. We left off at horse pee, was it?
Pregnant horse pee.
Pregnant horse. Has to be pregnant horse pee?
Has to be pregnant horse pee.
Okay, you're going to have to explain. And by the way, this is Remy sitting with you. Y'all have met Remy by now, but pregnant horse pee, explain this.
Okay, and I can't give you the total background on it because I'm really not that versed in it, but most estrogen originally was estrogen derived from pregnant horse pee because it was the highest potency. And what they would do is refine out the estrogen out of it, and
the being pregnant part makes it more potent.
Yes.
Okay.
And it in the 40s and 50s, even into the 70s, they didn't really have the synthetic hormones that they have today.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of the standards and a lot of the studies that you see about the effects of estrogen was really based on those equine estrogens. Wasn't really based on, there hasn't really been the in-depth studies that there was with the equine estrogens with the newer synthetic estrogens. That makes any sense?
Yes, absolutely. We've come a long way, in other words.
We've come a long way, but people still have those ideas that the hormones are unsafe because of those possible side effects.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, the increased chance for breast cancer, you know, the...
So does the synthetic ones decrease those chances?
If you read the little pamphlet that comes with it, the counterindications and the whatnot, it's still listed, but a lot of it is still based on old information.
Okay.
I have no issues with taking my synthetic estrogens.
Okay.
I have no fear that they're going to cause these problems that most women are afraid of. I've been on them since 2015 on substantial doses because I can't be on a dose for you as a cis woman because you went through your puberty.
Okay.
Where your estrogen levels hit like 1,500, let's say, ballparking. Where a woman in her childbearing years, let's say, may go down to 400. And a postmenopausal woman, her estrogen level may be 50. So your body develops with those high doses. So most trans women, to force that puberty, have to take high doses.
That makes sense.
And they have to take something that suppresses testosterone.
Oh, so you're taking 2 pills. Basically, it's 2 pills, right?
Well, in the beginning, yeah.
Okay.
Now you could you can go through castration and eliminate the testosterone, which is going to occur when you have the surgery anyhow.
I was going to say, that is is that a form of castration, or is castration a completely different thing?
When they do, I don't know how intense you want it for your audience.
You can use technical terms. It's okay.
When they do a gender confirmation surgery, it is a orchiectomy, which means bilateral removal of both testicles,
Okay.
and then they do a vagioplasty, which is forming the vagina.
Like you described earlier,
Yes.
the tip of the penis becomes the clitoris.
More to it than that, but yeah.
Right, right.
You know, they remove all the spongy tissues. It's pretty, again, very graphic.
That's all right. I mean,
It's pretty much they dig out a canal,
mhm.
invert the penis, and it usually becomes the lining of the neovagina.
Okay.
The one that Dr. Ting uses more of the subcutaneous tissues, so it becomes self-lubricating.
Which I had never heard this before. This is fascinating.
So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you plan on having the surgery, it's better to...
What lubrication is it using from the body? That's what I...
Same lubrication as you use is no different.
Really?
I mean, it's the same body's response to stimulation causes it to lubricate.
This is going back real quick.
I did not
If they're
have that
using-
procedure. I do have a dear friend that did have it, and I mean, I've seen the work, and he did some phenomenal work.
Wow.
It's, I'm actually jealous, but
Okay, if they're using pregnant horse
well, they
urine,
used to.
I know they used to back then. So what were they using for women or that wanted to be a man back then? Was it bull sperm? I don't know what.
I
I'm just
honestly-
curious that now.
I honestly don't know where testosterone is derived from.
Especially back in the day,
And back in the day, probably was
something like
something
that.
like that. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for talking about the surgeries, though. That is something that we just don't really.
Let me explain why it's taboo.
Okay, please
Okay. A lot of trans women want hormones. They want breast. And I'm generalizing here because if you met one trans woman, you met one trans woman.
do. Wow, that's a good way to put it.
We are
All different.
so different, and our approaches and what we need to feel to who we need to be. But a lot of trans women may want hormones, may not want bottom surgery. So people want to judge
Same
them.
in trans men too. I mean,
And trans
yes,
men.
Yeah.
Well, for trans men, it is so disgustingly expensive to let's face it, make something where there's nothing there to work with.
Are you
With trans women, you know, you have the penis, you can use that
got a
those
little extra?
tissues, you know, but for trans men to form a penis literally requires skin grafts,
Ooh.
large skin grafts, large chunks of skin, you know, and
Okay, this is gonna sound grotesque, but I really mean this honestly. Like, for a trans man, can they use a cadaver penis?
no,
Why not?
probably because it's never been tried, or if it has been tried, it's been unsuccessful.
Or I'm sure it's on taboo. Like, I mean, come on. Like that.
I mean, in the you've seen the movie The Danish Girl?
no, I have not.
Okay. It's Eddie Redemeyer.
You'd be embarrassed at my movies.
It's a good movie. Actually, I really enjoyed it, even though it was a good movie. But it was about a married man, or at least dating man, who was in love with this woman, but she kind of plays dress up with him one day.
Okay.
And he realizes that this is really who he is. So he ends up going, and he has one of the first surgeries. Well, his was very, very extremely unsuccessful.
Ooh.
And it ultimately killed her. And I mean, it was, from what I understand, wasn't just the surgery. They tried to transplant.
Okay. Okay.
You know, she wanted the full meal deal. She wanted to be able to have.
Is this based off a true story, or is
Yes,
this just...
it is.
Whoa. Okay. Wow. I'll have to look that up. What was that movie again for the audience?
The Danish Girl.
The Danish Girl.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I guarantee you, a lot of you have seen it. It's.
That one's going a little before my time, but let's talk a little bit about some trans representation in movies. I'm a child of the '90s, so I became a Jim Carrey fan, and the whole Ace Ventura and.
Horrible.
Well, I agree with that movie. I liked the movie. Like, I liked the humor of Jim Carrey at the time and everything, but I'm talking about the end of the movie. Just
It was
always awful.
Trans people, until extremely recently, were always a punchline.
Yep, grotesque.
It was always a twist. You know.
Mm-hmm. A secret.
Yeah.
It's revealed.
What was the horror movie I seen as a kid?
Well, what's the one with the
Sleepaway
lambs? Not Silence of the Lambs. What's the one where he puts the lotion on the skin? It's not Silence of the Lambs. It's oh, come on.
Was it one of those movies?
It's considered a horror movie. He's basically a serial killer, and he is trying to become a woman by literally killing women. And he drops the lotion down so she can put lotion on her skin because he's going to become. What I'm saying is, it's portraying
that one.
Oh, it's because I'm too stupid to remember the name of it. It's because they're portraying him as a murderer.
Oh yeah, we're predators. We're pedophiles. We are, you know, every horrible thing in the world is what trans people are. Listen to any politician right now. We are the scourge of the U.S.
Man.
I mean, these little kids are so vicious. And you know they're excelling so much that you're reading about them every day. What is there, 2 nationwide?
2 what?
2 trans athletes
In
that are actually
sports.
excelling. 2 out of the thousands.
What makes me the most angry about that particular thing is that they're so worried about them 2 athletes, but yet we got, you know, COVID is killing people. There's so much stuff in the world to worry about today, and they're fear-mongering these stupid little non-issues, if you will.
We can politicize this with impunity because, and I don't know if this is a good statistic or not, but I've always heard that trans people make up 0.04% of the population.
I can't believe that's accurate. It's got to be more than that.
I mean, that is 4 out of every 10,000 people are trans.
Ooh, no, it's... Look, I know I hang out in a certain circle, but I'm saying, like, it's got to be more than that.
Well, the gay community is what, 10%?
And it's constantly going up every day,
Yeah.
which that's
And
very...
I think the trans community is going to go up as kids feel comfortable. But with these governors and these people in these state houses and even the federal, by attacking these trans kids, they're going to end up causing more suicides. They're going to cause more depression. They're going to cause kids to hide who they are and have serious mental issues dealing with the trauma of holding it in versus expressing it.
And for the audience, of all the communities, trans community has the highest rate of suicide by far.
Like 41% has tried suicide at least once in their life.
Of trans people, you mean?
Of trans people.
That's awful.
I mean, any other group that had that high suicide rate or even attempted suicide rate, it would be in the news every day. It would be forefront in, you know, how can we help deal with this? How can we prevent this? And these politicians are saying they don't care about these kids.
You multiply that in your case with being from the military as well, which also has a very high suicide rate after the military.
Well, I know how many ugly things I've heard over the years, by people who didn't know, thought I was one of them.
Explain, I'm sorry.
We would have a trans person come in, and I heard some really ugly things. I'm not going to call it a she or it a he.
You mean from the staff members there
Yeah.
would be talking bad about that trans person?
Yeah. This goes back a ways.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to, that he, she, it, no, I'm not.
Do you have any, do you struggle with any of your military experience?
What do you mean?
Well, I know a lot of people that went to the military that they saw a lot of crap there, a lot of stuff that the average person doesn't get to see.
I was lucky at the time frame that I served in. Other than the Cold War, I really didn't have to go into combat. The worst that ever happened while I was in I think I need to pause for a minute.
Okay, no problem. By the way, I can edit all this out, so don't feel like you're taking too long or anything. You're not. The power of editing is amazing.
And I don't even know if I should talk about this.
Ask me first, and I'll let you know if we can talk about it or not. If you don't mind, it's up to you, obviously.
I was 19, and I went to a party, and somebody slipped me something.
Mhm.
And the next thing I remember is waking up on somebody's bed and some girl telling me that everything would be all right. And I had been violated, raped, and this was the middle 80s when AIDS was major.
Oh, man.
So not only couldn't I tell my base that I got drugged because I would have got put out,
All right.
I couldn't tell them I got raped because, well, obviously.
Men don't get raped, right?
Men don't get raped. And then I had to worry about coming down with HIV
Yes.
from it because I woke up bleeding.
Wow.
And it was, I never had a sexual encounter with a guy until then. And nobody would tell me what happened, and I buried that.
Wow.
For years I buried that, and I was in counseling session, and we were talking about traumas in my life, and it flooded back on me, and then I understood why I have to be in committed relationships,
Wow.
because I don't know, I have intimacy trusts issues, so I was, for 2 years I was scared to death I was going to come down with something that there wasn't no cure for. And I watched so many people die from AIDS. It was horrible. And know, I was, like I said, 19. I thought, you know, what's going to happen to me?
Yeah. And the media at that time was so inaccurate about.
Oh, it was horrible. But nobody knew.
Right.
It was like COVID was.
Okay,
2
and
years
let's be
ago.
honest, they're blaming it on the gays back then.
Oh, yeah,
and
they're still blaming it on
it was
the
a man
gays.
that assaulted you.
It is. They're still blaming it on the gays.
Well,
and
yes,
the
they are,
heterosexual community has higher rates of AIDS transmission, HIV transmission today than the homosexual community does. IV drug abusers and the heterosexual community lead everyone else right now.
I wasn't aware of that. I mean, it makes perfect sense. First of all, there's more of them.
A lot more.
A lot more. Remember, you're fishing that little bitty pond. Puddle.
And my puddle's drying up.
Okay, let's talk. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. I know that wasn't easy.
You're the second person I've ever told that to.
You sure you're okay leaving that in?
Why not?
Okay.
It's, I've always asked myself, did that define in some way who I am? And I've always tried to never let any one event define me. And I wasn't going to change who I was to fit somebody else's mold, as I fit somebody else's mold for decades.
The whole government's mold, I mean.
I worked hard at playing a part, and a lot of times, I always used to tell my then spouse that I'm not a very good husband.
Huh?
But I'm a damn good spouse.
Whoa.
And she always looked at me like, what does that mean? It's like, I'm not a very good husband. But I'll be the best damn spouse that you could ever have.
That's deep. I mean, you didn't even realize how deep it was at that time.
Oh no, I knew that.
You knew, but she
was
didn't.
not, yeah. I could not play the patriarch. I couldn't play the head of the household. Everything had to be a joint. We were a team.
Okay.
Don't look to me to tell you what to do. We'll figure it out together.
Was there any quote unquote masculine roles that you did take in your marriages that that you may or may not do today?
I was surprisingly the authoritarian.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Like
I was the one
disciplinarian
yes.
Oops, sorry.
I spanked my daughter once.
Okay.
I spanked my son once. I spanked my oldest son a couple dozen times, but he was just bowhead and obstinate. I mean, you would tell him, don't spill that cup, and he would go, that was him.
He didn't get that from you because you were compliant your whole life.
Yes,
and hid everything.
I fit everyone else's mold of my own. Why I tried not to fit somebody else's mold, I was fitting their molds. Like I said, I was 49 years old looking at 50, knocking on the door, and I said, there is no effing way that I'm going to hit my 50th birthday and still be him. So I
mean, in the video, you make it as plain as day that it was either kill myself or become Jessica.
was going through such depression, and a lot of it was not seeing my kids. A lot of it was just my whole world falling apart.
Let's talk about your family. Let's go back to you told your mother again.
Yeah, I came out to her for the third time.
Talk about that, and then talk about telling your family and all that. Okay.
And I literally told her, let's go for a drive. And I got in the car.
Is this right before your trans? I mean, when is this?
This was in 2015.
So you were doing it. You knew you were doing this.
I knew I was doing it.
Wow.
And I drove her out for 40 minutes before I could even look at her. And I ended up pulling into a cemetery.
Oh, that's an awkward place to pull over for.
Well, I wanted some place where we weren't going to be interrupted. Most people are not going to interrupt
It's okay,
you.
yeah.
So I pulled into this little cemetery. It's where my stepdad and my sister are buried.
Okay.
And I said, Mom, there's something I need to tell you. And she's like freaking out. She's thinking I'm going to tell her I got cancer, I'm sick, you know, some horrible calamities befell me. And I told her. And she looks at me and she tells me that she loves me and that she fully supports me.
Wow.
And that whatever I need to do, she will be there for me. And of course we're both bawling our eyes out. But it was such a weight lifted off my shoulders because I was finally able to truly tell her, mean it, not backpedal. And it really, she even told me I had her permission to do what I needed to do.
That's really sweet, actually.
And I said, Mom, this is not a time that I'm going to backpedal.
You're not backpedaling this time.
I said the other times I chickened out, but I'm not backpedaling. So I unloaded on her, and this was about a week after I unloaded on my counselor. I mean, I met Jean, best damn counselor in Fort Wayne. She was at the time. She probably still is, but there's since 2 or 3 more. So
Great.
But Jean was so awesome that I had been to a dozen counselors trying to get started.
It is hard to find a counselor.
I either couldn't develop
for all kinds of queer issues. It just is. Mm-hmm.
Or I couldn't develop a rapport with them where I felt comfortable to talk about it. I did have one that I was this close to opening up with, and we just couldn't bridge that gap. But Jean, I was in her office 15 minutes, and she's made me say it out loud. She said, now just say it. Now tell me, you need to say it out loud. You need to hear it. And I looked at her in the eye and I said, I am a woman in a man's body and I need to fix that. And I need you to help me. And she said, now does it feel better?
Aww.
And I'm like, you know what? I feel like I've had a lifetime's weight lifted off of me. Because now somebody who knows nothing about me knows my secret. My deepest, darkest, most hidden secret.
Hidden, very hidden, yes.
And I proceeded to tell her everything. I mean, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. And she started me on the process, sent me to Dr. Wallace.
Okay. And
Dr. Wallace seen me for a couple years, and in 2018, I was finally able to get all my letters, because you have to have two
Letters. I'm
different
confused.
doctors, psychologists,
Oh, literally
psychiatrists.
a written letter.
Yes.
Okay.
Both of them diagnosed me with gender dysphoria.
So I met you shortly after your surgery.
Yes, you did.
I met you right after your surgery, and you met me at my best health I've ever been in my life.
And I had my surgery on my birthday in 2018.
Ooh, that's brave. You're wow. Good for you. Good for you.
It was October.
Was it your 50th birthday? You said.
No.
Oh, you just didn't want to live
Right.
past the age of 50 as
I
a
was,
male.
yes.
Right on.
And but I didn't have it till 2018, and which was 4 years ago. And I'm 54, so that made me 52, I guess. You can edit that age out. Actually, I don't care.
All right.
It was difficult, and it was more, I could tolerate my discomfort because I always knew that there would be daylight eventually.
Sure.
And the couple times that there was a train, and getting back to what you said earlier, it had been 3 years since I separated. I'm sitting on my recliner, and I have my cell phone here, and my pistol here. And I was going to use one of them before I got up out of that chair. I was either going to call and get some help, or I wasn't going to get some help. And I went through everything in my mind. What is this going to do to my kids? What kind of shame is this my kids going to have to put up with? Because, you know, they don't deserve to go through this. You know, am I being too selfish? Would they rather have a memory of a loving father than a transgender mother?
Wow.
And I almost was to the point where I had convinced myself that my kids knew I loved them and that they would be better off just having a memory of me. And then I thought, well, I'm being a coward because my kids are going to want me there for their graduation. They're going to need me there when they get married and when they're, you know, I'm being selfish. But I can't stay Bob. So it's either move forward or give up. And I mean, it was really that dire.
Wow.
And I picked up my phone and I had her number programmed in, because literally at the time there were two in Fort Wayne that would.
You talking about the surgeon or the therapist?
Therapist.
You called your therapist.
That would. Well, I wasn't seeing her yet.
Oh, okay.
There was only two that would counsel people who are trans. Two in Fort Wayne.
Wow.
And they actually initially told me that she wasn't taking new clients. And then they, yeah, which I took as a sign that
Oh no.
that's not a good sign. But then they called me back a few minutes later because I refused to tell them what the issue was.
Okay.
Because they really wanted to know a diagnosis to tell her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I would rather discuss that with her. And just let her know that it's serious and I need some help. And they did call me back and say that she'll see me. And actually it was a fairly quick appointment. You know, like 2 or 3 days out.
Wow.
And hand-loaded my pistol. I opened my safe. I threw it in my safe, and I haven't had it out since.
So, tell me about when you told your children and your wife, no, you weren't married, not that. You weren't married when you transitioned, when you actually had the
No.
surgery, correct?
No.
Okay, so tell me about, talking to your children about it.
Told my first wife, because I was married twice, and she made me promise that she could be there when I told our daughter. And
You wanted her there.
I wanted her
okay.
there. And my daughter did not handle it well. She started crying and, very upset. And her friend came over and picked her up and took her. And, it took her a couple weeks to come around, and she's had a hard time with it. And I understood. She was in high school, she was a freshman at the time, and I just imagined her being bullied because she's got the
oh my,
the tranny dad or tranny mom, whatever, and
yeah.
I thought about all the horrible things that kids could do or say to her, and I get her. She's in college now. She has more LGBT friends than probably I do.
That young generation, I'm telling you, I'm quite impressed.
She had no issue with bringing her boyfriend, and meeting
That's
me.
great.
And or inviting me to her graduation and, introducing me.
What does she call you?
She still calls me Dad.
Are you okay with that?
I gotta be, because I won't take that from him.
Oh.
I mean, I've taken a lot from him, but I won't take that from him.
Oh, I never thought of it that way.
If they decide to call me something different, it'll be their decision, not mine. Would I love for them to call me Mom, or hell, even Jess or Jessica? I would love it, but I would love if they called me Mom. My son called me Mom, and it started bawling like a little.
Oh, your other daughter is very young still, right?
Yes, she's 9.
So she probably doesn't have very many memories.
No, not a lot.
Does she call you Mom, or does she know, or
I don't get to see my kids a lot. We have legal issues relating to being able to see my kids because I'm trans.
Oh, Jessica.
Not because I'm a bad parent or because of any other reason than I'm trans. So
I'm so sorry.
but
That is so unfair.
my stepson actually stays with me. He's
Currently, to this day.
yes, he's my son.
Right.
I mean, I took him when he was very young and told him that if I married his mother, he was going to become my son, and it was a lifetime thing.
Yeah.
And I said, it doesn't matter whatever happens between me and your mother, you will always be my son. And he is my son. And it's...
But he's only known you as Jessica, is that right?
Oh, no.
Oh, no, because
No.
you were married to his mom, or you, oh, wow.
Yeah, I was
Oh.
married to his mother.
How did he handle it then?
Well, like I said, I told my first wife, she made me promise my daughter didn't handle it well. I told my second wife, she gave me a hug, made me promise the same thing, and then proceeded to tell the kids herself when I wasn't there.
Ooh.
course, my youngest daughter started crying because she didn't want her daddy to be a girl. And my two boys laughed because my one son asked if I was going to, my voice was going to change. And the other one asked if I was going to wear ladies' panties. And when their mother said, well, yes to both, they just started laughing because it was... Now, my stepson has handled it well from day one.
Wow.
I mean, when we were doing family counseling, he was the one that every time wanted to come in and spend time with me. And the other two took their lead from their brother and their mother. And she kept telling them they didn't have to come back to see me. They didn't have to, you know.
Does she have any, other than just brainwashing, I'm sorry, that's kind of a strong word, but other than that part, does she have any legal recourse to do this to you? I mean, you are...
It's a long, convoluted discussion that could take hours, and I don't think I could explain it very well. But she convinced one of the local judges to appoint an ad litem. I don't know if you know what that is. That is an advocate for children. Like if a parent is abusive, or a parent is, let's say I was addicted to drugs or alcohol, or had some major issues, I beat my kids, you know. The courts usually assign an ad litem to represent the kids.
Okay.
Well, this ad litem has never filed her report with the courts. And she uses the reason that there is no ad litem report, so therefore I can't see my kids until, you know, all this is done.
Oh.
So, and the ad litem won't do it until we have a court date. I'm like, I want to know what you have to say before court. I have a right to know that.
Yeah.
But she won't file her report until we have an actual court date. Now, the last times that I went into court did not end well. I mean, I'm not saying this county is bigoted.
But it's Indiana.
But it's Indiana. And I'm not saying that this court would... Like I said, it's a very long, complicated issue.
This is another pet peeve of mine about the transgender community. I can't stand it when people say in the schools that we're trying to teach them to be transgender. We're trying to push it on them. Yeah. No, we're just trying to be accepted. You're just trying to be accepted.
Pushing it on. Parents are forcing their little boys to become little girls. I don't know any parent in this country that's going to say, little Johnny, you want to put on a dress, don't you?
It's not happening. It's not happening.
If that boy doesn't want that dress on, I don't care if you're 300 pounds of pure muscle. You're not going to put that boy in a dress.
Right, right.
Now, I met parents of a little trans girl last year, and in Ohio at the Columbus Pride. And
I bet Columbus throws a good pride.
Oh,
Sorry.
they do. Oh my God, yeah, they do. I thought Fort Wayne Pride was something.
Fort Wayne Pride's great. They're doing a good job.
No.
But Columbus is, well, it's also a college town too. I mean, it's
like 1 million people watching.
I believe it. Yep.
It took 3 hours for the parade to get over.
Whoa.
They had probably 500 floats and different.
Wow.
I mean, it was. My friend had told me that you think you've seen something. Wait till you see their pride, and I'm like, you know, I love our little town's pride. Wow. I mean, there were, you name it, there were there. Now, there were some that was a little over the top. You know, everyone was represented. Everyone. You know, the guys and the chaps and nothing else.
Oh, I understand.
You know,
It is what it is.
The leather guys, the bears, and
I'm working on trying to get all the flags. That is a process, let me tell you.
and the Dykes on Bikes.
Okay.
Lead the parade every year.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
You know, my friend, she was in one of the
Nice.
lead, you know, motorcycles that started the whole parade.
All right.
It was awesome. Wow. I'd never seen anything like that. Still haven't. Oh, but I was telling you, I met this couple, and they're, you know, he's got a T-shirt on that says "Proud Papa Bear," and
That's
you know,
cute.
she had the "Proud Mama Bear" with the trans flag, and I'm like, you know, and I'm looking at this little girl, and she was, I mean, she's all Cheshire Cat grin, you know, she's this little thing that, you know, she's got a cute little dress on, she's hair's done up, and she's glowing, you know, and again, I think back to if I had been that age and really had been brave enough to actually come out, to be forced back in to the closet or to hide who I was, would have put me over the deep end.
Wow.
I mean, I can't imagine the absolute hell that these kids in Texas are going through, you know, that because I'm the way I am, they're going to come after my mommy and my daddy for child abuse, you know, and this Governor Abbott is the single biggest piece of shit I've ever seen, because he's politicizing probably one of the most vulnerable groups.
Easily the most vulnerable group.
And it doesn't care. It's all about votes. It's all about winning his party support.
Yep,
They don't
that's what it
care
is.
how it's impacting real people. I mean, there is a video of Kaya Shapley. I don't know if you've ever seen it. The ACLU puts it out. And I tell people to watch it. If they don't believe that trans kids know who they are, they need to watch this video.
Okay.
Because Kaya Shapley it's really a video of her mother. Her mother is a deeply religious, you know, she taught Sunday school, she went to church 3 times a week, you know. Every time her little boy said that he was a girl, she would punish him. Every time that he acted feminine, she would punish him, including spankings and everything else. And she said, it wasn't until I heard him praying to Jesus to go home, and that her child, who was 6 or 7 at the time, was wishing to die than be stuck here as a boy, and that she realized that she needed to figure this out. So she went and she did her research and her due diligence and took Kaya to, you know, the appropriate people. And you see this little girl that you will never see as anything but just blossom as a human being, as, you know. And
you know, that's another big issue of letting kids transition, and I am using that in quotation marks, as a child. Transition as a child. That's not happening surgery-wise.
No.
It's not happening as children.
It does not happen. These idiots that are saying it is happening are either stupidly misinformed or bold-faced
Fear-mongering.
Yes, fear-mongering. Because the most that a child can do is socially transition, and only with intense counseling.
Describe social transition, by the way.
Social transitioning is using
Clothing,
hair,
restrooms, is that part
gender identifiers, restrooms if it comes to that. You can do a social transition. Some just do it around family in the beginning until they're comfortable with like I said, you've heard one trans story, you've only heard one trans story.
Right,
Every
right.
story is different. But these young kids that are bold enough to know what they need and somebody is denying them, to me, is the most abusive thing that I've ever heard. But the most that they can do is put them on puberty blockers. Now, there has been a lot of talk about puberty blockers, that they're detrimental to kids.
Go ahead and define them first.
Puberty blockers have been used around for probably close to 75 to 100 years.
Wow. Way longer than I thought. I had no idea.
Well, they didn't call them puberty blockers. They were treatments for precocious puberty. The 10, 11-year-old girl.
Yeah, I've learned all kinds of words from you. Precocious. What does that even mean?
The 10, 11-year-old girl who's starting to develop breasts, at a very early age, and you want to slow it down.
Okay.
So she can catch up with, her mind, the rest of her peers.
Right.
So she doesn't develop so fast that, that is precocious puberty.
Okay.
Is when they develop abnormally young. So they have puberty blockers that only stops their current puberty.
Okay.
If you stop the blocker, they start going through that puberty.
Okay.
Okay? So the most you're doing is buying that child a couple years to decide if this is really who I am.
Because if you go through the actual puberty, it's just harder to...
Well, if you're a trans man, now you have to have a mastectomy if you develop breasts.
Oh.
You have
Good point.
hips.
Okay.
You have a waist. You
All
have
right.
defined cheekbones. You have, things that when they feminize don't masculinize.
Okay.
There are things that a man who wants to transition to become a female voice.
No girl wants a voice this deep.
So, had you had done it at that time...
If I had done it at that
You wouldn't
time,
have
our
developed a different
voices
voice?
would be no different.
Huh? Excuse me. No.
If I had
Your
puberty
voice would never
blockers,
got deep? Is
I would have never, my voice would have never developed because I would never have changed my mind. Because puberty is when all those events occur. Your voice develops, your Adam's apple, your brow ridges, Most kids are fairly androgynous up until a certain point, till puberty kicks in.
Okay.
And at puberty, they start going through the hell of their bodies changing.
Yeah.
And watching your body change opposite of what you want. I mean, literally, like I said, if you're a trans guy, you're developing breasts that you don't want.
You don't want.
So you're going to end up having to have a invasive surgery to fix something that you could have stopped before it ever started.
I get it.
Same with the trans women, their voice that deepens, those things that once they masculinize, hair patterns, receding hairlines, things like that, it doesn't come back with estrogen. It stops. If you're losing hair, you start estrogen, your hair loss stops.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, how have we not solved baldness with this yet?
Because guys don't want to grow boobs.
So if he takes estrogen...
So if he's willing to take estrogen and he still has hair, he won't lose any more. It won't grow back.
There's got to be some scientific studies on this, by the way. Like some
Oh, there was.
seriousness, like for hair loss I'm talking about.
Oh, there was.
Anything ever come of it?
Yeah, there was. There were hair treatments in the 50s. And the only problem were guys were developing gynecomastia.
Ooh, that's not good.
So,
So you obviously had the surgery later in life. Were you already noticing a
oh yeah.
receding hairline yourself?
Oh yeah. Quite a bit.
Wow.
I wore wigs for, I don't know, a year maybe. But then I embraced it.
In that picture that you showed, are you wearing a wig in that?
Oh, hell yeah. No, this one, no. That was my hair.
Nice.
I mean, these horrible pictures here of me trying to,
Oh yeah. Talk about that. That's your. Were those your different wigs? Is that what that was?
that was different. Well, actually, it was only like 2 of the wigs. But I was trying makeup and I was trying to
You really were.
see what I was. It was a work in progress. Very thick eyebrows, which I hate.
Look, I don't think that's unique just to you, by the way. I still learn something new about myself that, like, I feel like I change about every 5 years.
Yeah, this one I'm proud of because that was my first time here, and I'm
It's a
not
great
going
picture.
away.
It's a great picture.
And
Is the headband for the receding hair? I'm just asking. I'm not.
it was.
Oh.
That matched my top.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Yeah. It's
You know,
turquoise.
you're really smiling in that picture. Like, that's a genuine smile in that picture.
Well, and I smile a lot more now.
Oh.
And I'm easier to smile. And even with all the bigots in the world, I wouldn't change a damn thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, I wrote a diary when I first came out, or kept a diary, and I recently went back and reread it.
Oh, I bet that had to be hard.
Oh, and it was horribly painful to read.
Oh, man.
You know, just some of those emotions and memories that came back. And one of the statements I wrote on one of the later entries is, even with all the bigots and assholes in the world and the price of admission, I wouldn't change a damn thing. And my friends really talked me for a year because I kept talking about when I get the surgery.
Oh.
And are you sure, you know, because don't you think you might regret it afterwards? And if any chance you're going to regret it, you know, there is no do-overs.
Let's talk about that. There is a very small portion that do regret it. It does exist. However, in my opinion, it's another fear-mongering tool.
It is.
That's what they're using it for. Well, you're going to regret it. And
I have not.
you can transition back in some cases, is that right? You can stop taking hormones, okay? You
I
can
would
do
never
that.
want to.
I know you don't, but I'm saying it's not always. Obviously, some of the surgeries you've had are irreversible.
The
But
surgeries are irreversible. They're not putting a penis back there. I mean, it's gone. Well, it's not gone. It's just reconfigured.
I would just like to note that there are plenty of other devices that you could use for that. Just saying.
No comment. No comment on the toys.
So I have a list of questions now,
Okay.
as we've talked about a good. Wow, I mean, this has been wonderful, by the way.
Thank you.
So yeah, I got some random questions. What are tell me something that surprised you about being a woman? Anything? Because you've lived as both. This is.
I really didn't know.
Oh, you know what I mean. Like, I get what you're saying.
I know what it means to have a guy's perspective,
That's what I'm getting at.
but my perspective was always skewed anyhow, because I always seen things more from I won't say an emotional, because that's saying that women operate strictly on emotion. I think a more thought out process.
More like you see
Not
it
a
the bigger
reaction
picture.
like men, you know, yeah, you try to see the bigger picture and to think it through instead of just reacting to it.
I think what I'm getting at is Is there any examples you can give me of something that,
Men.
what are you talking about?
I did not realize truly how sexist most men are.
Oh, wow. You didn't realize that? Oh, gosh, Jessica, I'm
I
sorry.
really did not.
You had to learn that later in life. I'm sorry about that.
That was a bit of a shock. How
Wow.
men, honestly, I think it's bred into them to think of women as somehow inferior to men,
It is,
which is
though.
the
It's sad that it
absolute
is.
opposite. But we teach our girls the same thing.
To put up with it, in other words? Is that what you're saying?
Little girls have to act feminine. They have to have
Oh.
their hair. They have to look pretty.
Uh-huh.
You know, we put a expectation on our girls that we don't put on the boys, and vice versa. And it's kind of institutionalized into thinking that, well, you can't do those things the boys do. You can't act, you can't act manly as a girl because, well, girls have to be feminine,
Trust me, I
And girls get
Went
corrected
through
when
that
they're not
stereotype.
feminine.
I was a
enough.
tomboy growing up, so
So I guarantee your mother, put your legs together.
I had to wear the dresses. You talked about,
Yes.
my mom got me to wear a dress up until, I don't know, 10 years old, and then she quit fighting that war.
But that was a bit of a brutal eye opener for me because they truly, and it's not, I don't believe it's being sexist. I just think it's how they were raised that somehow
Well, gender is a construct, right?
think-
We made gender up
they think that they are superior.
because we've treated them as superior in society.
But honestly, women are so much more superior to men in every way. I mean, truly,
Give me an example. You've lived as both.
it takes one man to make a baby,
Okay,
but only a woman can carry a baby.
right.
And I don't
For 9 months, by the way.
I don't
yeah.
need a man's penis to make that baby. All I need is one little part of it.
Oh, good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
men
have started almost every war that has ever happened
this is
on
true.
this planet.
This is true.
I mean, case in point.
Right?
Men's way of dealing with things is
Violence.
the stick in the club and the,
Yeah, I had a hard time with that. Men just duke it out, and women,
yeah.
that's a good point. Yeah.
Women are more emotionally intellectual,
Mhm.
where I'm going to sympathize with
But
you.
it's okay for, say, women to cry, but if a man cries,
Oh God, no.
yeah,
No.
these are all incorrect. I mean,
They're totally incorrect, and I'm being facetious when I say these things because
Right.
I have seen both sides. So please don't send me nasty messages saying you're a sexist.
Jessica,
No.
you are anything but a sexist.
But I have seen both sides, and I guess I was a little oblivious to it. And maybe I fell into some of those same traps as a kid and as a
Oh,
young
wow.
adult.
Yeah, okay.
I tried not to. I tried to be the equal partner, but I see where those stereotypes force us to go,
Yes, yeah.
and I don't like that place.
What is
If
something?
my son wanted to wear a dress, it would not bother me a bit. If my daughter wants to wear blue jeans and whatever, it wouldn't bother me.
I think we're slowly getting comfortable with that. Slowly. But honestly, it's this younger generation. I'm very proud of them.
But I would be so scared if one of my children came out as trans.
Really?
I would be terrified
Why?
because I see how ugly the world is to trans people right now and how they react to us when most of them, and I'm going to be bold here and say 99% of them don't know what in the hell they're even talking about, but they're reacting based on emotion. When I say, do you want some guy dressing like a woman and going in the bathroom with your little girl?
That's that fear mongering that they've been taught.
Trans women, for one, are more fearful than anybody going in that bathroom because they don't know
Wow.
how everyone else is going to react.
I never looked at it that way, Jessica. Wow.
The thing
Wow.
about women's bathrooms, what does every woman's bathroom have?
A stall
So,
that you can close.
and if it has a stall and a door, and I'm that voyeur, what am I seeing?
Feet.
Unless you're sitting there like this on the toilet, displaying it for the world to see.
Or
what
your feet
am
are
I
facing
seeing?
towards the toilet.
Yeah,
We know that you're peeing standing up,
nothing.
but you're in a
Would
stall.
any trans woman go into a women's bathroom and stand and pee? Even if they could.
I'm assuming no is
I
the answer to
would
that.
not.
Yeah. What if you went into there and it was all? They can't do all urinals, can they? In a men's restroom.
Oh, no.
Obviously, I'm a female. I don't.
No.
You have to have a toilet, right? You can't just have
You
urinals.
have to be able to number two.
Right. So I just thought of that. Sorry.
So they.
You can't just have urinals.
So again.
I've been to baseball games. I have been in the men's restroom at a baseball, and it's just what is that, peeing trough?
Yes.
I've
yes.
seen.
Those
Oh.
are horribly
Oh,
disgusting.
are those still in stadiums? Comment
Yes.
below. I'm curious. Those are awful.
The same with trans men. They usually use a stall. They usually have privacy.
True.
They usually do their business. Or, you know, they even have things
There's
called
a shiwi.
shiwi.
I own one. I've used it one time at like a concert.
I don't know
There's
how
a couple
you
different
use
ones.
it, but
Yeah.
I know my friend has a shiwi. And
Yeah.
It's so yeah, you could do it either way. But again, most trans men are going to use the stall, so you still have privacy.
Yes.
So the whole argument about bathrooms is a non-argument. If you go back and do a Google search, and I challenge any of you to do a Google search and find any cases, barring the one in Wyoming or one of those states in that area, of a trans woman attacking somebody in a bathroom, with the exception of that one, you won't find any.
Whereas you will find a whole bunch of trans
You
women
will
like
find
yourself,
hundreds of
that
trans
have gotten
women
hurt.
assaulted.
not in just bathrooms but all over.
In Puerto Rico, a trans woman was murdered because she had the gall to use the women. Because some woman
Jeez.
accused her of being a voyeur because she was trans. She was homeless. She was using the bathroom to clean up and whatnot.
Okay.
So she was hanging out in the bathroom because she was using it.
Right.
And this woman accused her of being a voyeur. And these guy chased her down and executed her because she had the gall to go into a women's bathroom. And this was after, I can't even say it, the man that was in the White House was talking so much shit about trans people that people feel empowered to be able to do whatever they want to do now.
Empowered a lot of them bigots, basically.
And it got really ugly. Last year there was, I think the HRC said that there was 54 trans women murdered in this country.
Wow.
Men and women, for guilty of being trans. I mean, the fact that they were trans was one of the single things that caused their demise.
Mhm.
Like a dumbass, I read these things, and it scares me how negative people are towards the trans community right now.
Well, would you say you brought up a good issue of America's not the only one that's got the problem.
Oh no, we definitely do not.
I never really thought of that. Like, what are other cultures doing in other countries?
Brazil has the highest murder rate of trans people of anywhere in the world. I mean, it even beats the Middle East.
You've been to some of these countries in your
Yes.
military service, is that
Yeah.
right?
I mean, there's places I would not go to now. Now, then you got Chechnya that swears there's no gays or trans people in their entire country. And after their purge, there probably isn't.
Do you mind talking about your current military views? Since you've served, I would love to hear what you have to say about the current status of the military. And
I am so proud of our military. They are some of the most put upon people in the world right now. I mean, I work with guys that have been deployed 4, 5, and 6 times.
Jeez.
A lot of these guys are reservists, and they're on their 5th and 6th deployments. That they've been to Iraq, and they've been to Doha, Qatar, whatever it's called. And that they've been to Afghanistan, you know, and a lot of them aren't getting the recognition that they should be because they're reservists. They're getting like 5 years of health care covered. But if they didn't serve 24 months, they don't get VA health care for life. They only get it for that 5 years.
What?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't understand a lot
You
of
serve
the
in
VA
the
health.
combat zone, you should be covered by the VA
Period.
forever.
Right, right.
But that's not the way it works.
What would you change about the military? Is there anything you change? The current day status of the military.
I actually served before you could declare timeouts.
What's that?
That's when, if things are too stressful, you know, and your drill sergeants hurt your feelings, that you can actually make him back off you and leave you alone for a while.
Okay.
When I was there, they just tore into you worse. And at the time, I did not appreciate it, but I now understand a lot of that is taking you to what you perceive to be your breaking point and find out that you really don't have one.
Dang.
But a lot of these kids don't know that yet. And then you took them from basic training where they could declare a timeout to put them in a war zone where the other guy truly does want to kill you.
Truly wants to kill you.
So we have the most intelligent, well-trained military in the world. You know, when I was in, most of the guys I served with had high school diplomas. A few of the enlisted had associate degrees. Most of these kids today that are serving are already with either associate degrees or even bachelor's degrees, some of them master's degrees, going in as enlisted. Not officers, but as enlisted.
Wow.
I mean, we have one of the most educated militaries in the world.
This is just my opinion. I don't think they should be able to advertise to those students in high school like they do. That's just my take on it. I just
The
think
reason
that
I went in was the education benefits, and if I didn't know
it's a
it
great
was
reason
there,
to go. Honestly, it is a good reason.
I probably would not have joined.
Did you go on to use to
No.
get? You didn't go to college then after that? You didn't use it?
Yeah.
Any particular reason why? You had a great job.
I
so,
used
you
it
know.
up to associate's degree, and I never went for my bachelor's because I was working rotating shifts,
Yeah.
and I just could not commit to the time to school, and each year my schedules were just as funky and wonky.
Oh, quit. Your schedule's still funky wonky.
And by the time I actually got on a set schedule, it's like I'm already at the top of my scale, and I've been here for 20 plus years. And
Would you encourage any of your children to go into the military if they wanted to?
yeah,
You'd be okay
I
with
would. But I would probably not suggest it as a career.
Okay.
That there are a lot of benefits, especially the GI Bill, that in a lot of these, even reserves, Indiana State National Guard was paying 100% of tuition for people who joined the Guard.
I'm a big fan of the Guard, by the way. I think that's a
it
wonderful.
that's a phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in, it was 75%.
I wish I would have done that. My back surgery was the first one. I was 18 years old, so I was never a candidate in the military. But the Guard is something I think I would have enjoyed.
But I think I would recommend it, but I don't think I would recommend that they get in any career field that doesn't have a civilian counterpart to it.
Explain what that is.
Well, I worked nuclear weapons security. Now, security work is security work,
Okay.
but my job working Priority A really doesn't
Oh, I get what you're
translate
saying.
to the civilian world.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Unless I want to work at the nuclear test site or,
Sure. Yeah.
you know, being in,
Like if you're a pilot, then you could be a pilot when you're. Okay, that makes perfect sense.
being a mechanic or a loadmaster or something is that something that has a civilian translation to it.
Very good. Good advice. I'm just purely asking this because I'm just curious. Where were you at on 9/11? Like, what were you doing?
I was at work.
Ooh, that had to
No,
be
that's a lie. I was not at work. I was in bed because I had just got off work. And my then wife had called me and she said, "Turn on the TV." And I'm like, "What?" She said, "Turn on the TV. A plane just rammed into the Trade Center." And I'm like, I'm thinking another Piper Cub or a Cessna, like happened, 20 years ago. And, oh no, it's a big commercial airliner. And about the time I turned it on, that was supposedly live. And another plane, because I could see one tower already smoking. And I seen this plane go into the second tower. And my first thought was, we're at war. So I jumped back into my uniform and headed back into work. Because a terrorist attack, especially that coordinated, I thought could happen anywhere. And what softer target than, medical centers and
Right.
government buildings and whatnot that, don't have the levels of protection like the Pentagon has.
What are some of your? Tell me about your life today. What are some current hobbies? What do you like to do in your spare time nowadays? You talk a lot.
I visit with my friends.
Those 5 friends.
Yeah.
That's a great thing, though. I'm
Oh,
glad
it is.
I'm really glad you have that.
I don't really have hobbies like I used to.
Have they changed with as you after the surgery? Like, did some of your
I wish I could say yes, but no, they really didn't. Some things I lost interest in.
like what? Give me an example.
Oh, like when my dad was alive, after I first got out of the service, he got me into collecting ball cards.
Okay.
Well, after he passed, and it's not something that I really do anymore. They just kind of take up space now.
You got anybody I care about, like Pete Rose or Barry Larkin? You don't have to.
Larkin, yes. Rose, probably not.
Are you a sports fan at all?
Um,
Or were you?
I used to be.
Okay.
I was a fan of the Big Red Machine. Pete Rose, Johnny
You seriously
Cash.
just saying
Yes.
you're a Reds fan because you're
No.
in the presence of...
No. Until they struck. And then when they started splitting up teams and free agency started and
Every sport's dealt with that at some point, you know what I mean?
You no longer had dynasties anymore. When you turn on the Big Red Machine, you knew you had Johnny Bench. You knew you had Pete Rose. And we all tried to do the Pete Rose dive, when we were kids.
Do you think he should be in the Hall of Fame?
Yes, he should be.
All right.
He should have been back then.
Right.
What he did deserved to be punished for because he bet on his own team, supposedly. And if he did do that, he deserved to be punished for it, but not kept out of the Hall of Fame.
Fair enough.
So,
I know I
they
want to.
struck, I stopped watching baseball.
Fair enough. That's all right. I went a whole long time of not watching Reds baseball until I had my surgery in April 21.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, like, the Reds got me through my surgery, man. I got to watch every game.
I can't tell you who a player is today.
It's not. I couldn't tell you all of them either. It's just half the time I'm playing on my phone when I'm watching the game anyway.
In the 90s, I watched, the Chicago and Reggie Miller and playing basketball.
Sure, yep.
And,
Yep.
and I had the teams I rooted for.
Well, sure, but your
And
tastes
it's a game I am
change.
no good at. Zero.
Were you ever athletic, ever? Yeah, you did a lot of sports, you
I
said.
did a lot of, yes,
Yeah.
I was very good at warming the bench. I kept that bench warmer than anybody.
I got a few more questions for you, Jessica.
Ask away.
This one, I seriously want to know this.
Okay.
What do you think of Caitlyn Jenner?
Caitlyn is an old, rich, Republican woman who really needs to keep her mouth shut and go away.
I figured it'd be something like that.
But I totally respect who she is. I have zero problems with her expressing her opinion. It's when she expresses an opinion as if it's the opinion of the vast majority of the either trans community or whatever. She doesn't speak for any of us. She speaks for herself.
Which
As long as you can remember that, she can say what she wants.
I still think she's just leading with her pocketbook.
Oh, she does. She's a
I
rich
think- I
woman
think she's
who's
just
made
gonna
her
be-
money
She's
off controversy.
Republicans love her because like, okay, see, we finally got one. We finally got one. You know what I mean?
She agrees
She's the
with
token
us.
trans.
She agrees with us now.
She's the token trans. There you go. And yeah.
I mean, she a year ago was saying how she thought that trans boys and girls should be playing with each other. That it's good, you know, for.
Oh, she's gone back on that.
Oh, yeah, she.
I know she's
recanted
currently
it.
against
She's very
trans
much
in
against
sports.
it.
She's very much against it. But I didn't know she
Now,
was for it at one
She
point.
was absolutely for it. I quoted her.
She got
on
bought out. She got. Yep.
Well, this was when she was running for governor of California.
Yeah, that was a joke. But oh, jeez.
So she said a lot of ugly things that,
Oh man.
I mean, latest is she doesn't understand they and them, and, you know, it all confuses her, and, you know, really?
I agree 100% with you. Who are some? Like I said, just a few more questions.
Uh-huh.
Who are some of your current day role models?
Janet Mock.
Who's that?
She was the editor of, like, the New Yorker magazine, I may have the magazine wrong, who was outed as being trans, and they fired her from her position because of it, and now she's just a kick-ass, you know, everything.
Yeah.
MJ is awesome.
And
Um,
MJ to me is Michael Jordan. 90s kid.
Please don't.
She a singer or an actress or?
No, she was in. It was on HBO. She was the house mother for a bunch of young trans kids and,
Okay.
and queer kids, and she just did a phenomenal job. There was two of them. The color orange, but the girls
Orange
in
is
prison.
the New Black?
Yes.
What about that?
Yeah. The gal on there.
Laverne Cox?
Yes.
Is her real name?
Laverne is.
I
awesome.
admire Laverne Cox. Oh my gosh, she was in Inventing Anna. Holy cow. And listen, Laverne Cox played an actual female character that was not trans. Do you see what I'm saying? That's like that's amazing.
She and Janet Mock has directed. I mean, she has produced now. You know, instead of taking what could have been a negative, somebody that went in hiding. I mean, she's embraced who she is, and she has now become a strong advocate for the entire trans community.
That's great.
She is just, she's one of my heroes because she is a beautiful woman, and nobody's going to tell her any different.
That's great.
I mean,
Yeah.
And Laverne is the same way.
Oh,
Laverne,
Laverne's
I
awesome.
love
I
her
love
quotes.
Laverne,
I have
yeah.
her all over my Facebook,
Yes, Laverne is awesome.
especially the Statue of Liberty one.
Jessica, what are you proud of?
My kids.
Aw.
Single thing that I am absolutely the most proud of is my children. I love my kids with all my heart and soul. And I never understood when parents said, I would die for my children until my daughter was born. And I took one look at her, my oldest. Now, I felt this way with every one of my kids, but with my oldest, I looked at her, and it was so overwhelming, I almost passed out. But I looked at her, and I just felt this overwhelming love and desire to protect that I truly understood parents that said that.
Wow.
That I would do anything to protect my kids. And my kids haven't let me down. They are smart, you know, they're thoughtful, they're intelligent. They'll see through the bull, and they will see through the ugliness, and they will see life for what it is. And I feel sorry that one day these people that have done these ugly things are going to be held accountable. And it's not going to be easy to explain why to my kids why your parent who loves them more than anything doesn't get a seat.
It's your children that really are the reason you're still here. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. If I didn't have kids, I wouldn't be here.
Wow. Wow. Jessica, I mean, what do you want to be known for after you die?
I don't know. I think I just want to be known as a good person with a good soul and a good heart. Somebody who loved my kids and loved my family. And, I mean, I don't need accolades. I don't need somebody to tell me how good I did, but I want people to remind and remember me because they really miss me. And that'll be a bit better legacy than being Jeff Bezos with $1 billion in the bank.
Or the soldier that you...
Yeah, or the soldier.
Um,
You know, that's a small aspect of who I was and who
Yes.
I am, but that's all it is an aspect. It was a time frame. It played an important part in, I think, for me, in honor and integrity and what those truly meant. So I think my time in the military was valuable for teaching me, you know, to always be honorable, always have integrity, always be
Wow.
honest. But it doesn't define who I am. It's just a part of my life that I don't regret,
that's good to hear, actually.
but I don't want to do it again.
Understandable.
Um,
You know, I feel like,
But I would rather go back to boot camp, Army infantry boot camp, than go back to transition.
whoa, that's deep. Whoa. I didn't expect that. Wow.
Yeah, that was the hardest, ugliest thing I ever went through.
When I was thinking about what I could write about you in the description of this video, I thought you were willing to die for this country, but what was really killing you was living as a man.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, every day I thought about when I get out, I can get started. Well, it still took me another 25 years.
That's all right. You did it. I'm glad you did it.
And there ain't no mulligans. There is no do-overs.
There's no mulligans.
Yeah.
Jessica, what would you like to say to some trans people out there, or people that are thinking about doing the surgery, or are thinking about telling their family, or coming out? I want you to talk directly to people that
Wow,
that's, yeah.
that is
What do you
deep.
want to tell them?
You will find that you have two families. You'll have the family you support yourself or that you grew up with, and you will have the family that you build around you. Make sure that you build your family. Make sure you have those people that support you as you. And the best thing I did for myself was I never needed counseling ever for being trans. But my counselor was invaluable for everything else. So get a good counselor to help you through the process. Because you know who you are and what you need to be and what you need to do to get to where you need to be. But without her help, I don't think I could have done it. Not nearly as well as I think I did. And it was
That's great.
horrible. But it was horrible because there was no guidebook on how to do it. So I'm doing it all from
There's
what
no
I'm
guidebook.
thinking.
There is no guidebook.
No. And how to tell people, when to tell people, which people to tell. I mean, to me, it was a gut-wrenching thing every time I had to pull somebody in and say, I need to talk to you,
Oh, man.
and I need you to read this letter, because I wrote out a full letter explaining it all. Before you ask any questions, I need you to read it completely. And then I would ask him, do you have any issue or questions, and usually it was like, nope.
Well, now you got these videos.
Well, I don't need to come out to anybody now.
Right? I know.
I'm done.
Jessica, thank you for doing this video with me. Thank you for
Oh, no.
pouring your heart out to the world. I truly admire you. I thank you for your service to this country and to the trans community, that you are still providing a service to this trans community. And
And I'm on Facebook, so
absolutely.
if you ever need to talk, I probably friends with half the trans women in this state.
Wow. That's
Uh,
impressive.
Well, it's not a huge group,
Okay, good point. Good point. Right.
so and it's more mutual support than anything,
Sure. Sure.
you know. So if you ever need an ear or whatever, I don't do much instant messaging, so
I know, because it took me forever to
yeah.
get her to do this show.
Sorry.
But you did. You finally said, it's time to tell my story, without me really kind of pushing you.
Yeah,
And
it
I really
was.
appreciated that.
And I love it. I told her, I said that you'll have to edit it down because I'll talk too much.
No, I've enjoyed this greatly. I've enjoyed you. And thank you so much, Jessica.
Not a problem. I love this myself.
Great.
It's not often I get to talk about myself for 2 hours.
Thanks for watching. And listen, hit the subscribe button if you'd like me to continue to interview wonderful people like Jessica and Della and Tula and Ryan Staples. Help girl out right here. I need subscribe, hit the like, share this video, tell a friend. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I am 5.0.